Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of Tivan's investor briefings. This will be our third for the year. We've sort of fast-tracked this one because we know that it's an important time for the company. We've achieved a lot in the past couple of months, and we want to share that with you and, again, provide reassurance at a testing time for base metals and critical minerals and so on and so forth. So for those that are new, we really pride ourselves at Tivan on transparency and open communications. That can be on Twitter, it can be on investor briefings, it can be in media and so forth. But we do take that accountability seriously and the connective tissue between management and the team and shareholders very seriously. And so today, dialing in from Kununurra, behind is Elephant Rock, sitting in a mango farm. It's where I'm staying over these months. It's, as I've mentioned publicly, we've always believed it's very important to localize the Speewah Fluorite project. And so my presence in and around town is by design. It does have impact, but also it's obviously a wonderful place to be. It's a happy time of year up here, and it's obviously a beautiful spot. So happy to share this with everyone today. The format today is as before. There's some slides that we've provided on the ASX half an hour ago. They integrate AMA, as always. We always encourage questions and do our best to bring those to everyone's attention so people can sort of sense the mood and provide an opportunity to respond, of course. And the slides, also narrate, I think, the progress over the past couple of months, some of the material achievements but at the same time, I want to talk about what's ahead in the second half of the year. So that's actually the main purpose of the call. So let me share the slides and we'll get into it. Okay, thanks. So for those new to the company, we always start with this high-level strategic aspirational slide. Just for new shareholders, we do have a lot of people still dialing in and discovering the company. Tivan is still incipient. We're only 3 years in here. And so the footprint is Northern Australia, Central Australia, Timor-Leste. We're not going to stray outside these boundaries. This is where we excel. This is our home ground, as it were, particularly for me, having grown up in Alice Springs and a lot of other people in the team, coming from the territory, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But the salient point here is that, where we're working is around 22% of Australia's landmass, around 1% of Australia's population, enormous resource potential, but there's not really been a path through in this part of the country. And for various reasons and various challenges that we can talk about on the duration of the call. Similarly with Timor-Leste, obviously it's one of the world's newest countries, fought a war of independence for 30 years and had a lot of civil discord for the 10 years after that, have found a path out with strong leadership, inspirational leadership, have integrated the rule of law, institutional liberalism, and have, for ourselves, opened up an enormous opportunity in the resources sector where Tivan is now in the lead position, and we believe there are multiple opportunities ahead. So this is where we need to focus our efforts. At no point will Tivan run off to Argentina or Africa and pretend that we can build a project there. This is home base. It's an inspiring part of the world, and we're looking not just to deliver projects in this part of the world, but to reshape norms and language and communication, to build success and integration and alignment. And we are on track. We are on track to achieve this mission of ours. To give you a sense, again, for perhaps new listeners, and we do have a lot. We started this journey in 2023. It was a wild starting point with the 249 campaign, taking control of a failed or failing company with no intrinsic value whatsoever. Big decisions were taken at the top, not to write off existing shareholders, but instead to find a pathway back to keep their equity interests intact. That meant it was going to be a very, very hard journey, very, very hard journey. But we started with the acquisition of Speewah, and then we've moved into 2024 with integrated agreements in Central Australia, and a major decision right at the start of 2024, which was to pivot from vanadium to fluorspar or fluorite. That was really the company-making decision, I would argue. Once we understood that, we went looking for more fluorite, and we discovered that and acquired that for a song in 2024. And then in early 2024, we announced our 25. We announced our Timor strategy. Timor's a country I'm intimately familiar with. Like, I have worked up there and done things with government before for the past 10, 15 years. So it was a confident step, even if it was into the unknown. And I believe it's already created enormous upside potential for Tivan. The rest of the achievements really revolve around Japan. We were very focused on Japan for the start. It was a strategic decision of the board to prioritize Japan above all else. And that was a reflection of what we saw coming, the collision between the US and China on critical minerals and rare earths. It's not to say that we're forever Japan. We have now received extremely strong interest from some Korean counterparties, some of the biggest companies in the world, to engage, and we're going to seriously consider some of these things. But it is to say at the same time that we've built a durable, trusted relationship with one of Japan's most legendary trading houses, along with the Japanese government, and this is really the foundation stone of the company. I'd also like to highlight the deals with ETFS Capital. The involvement of Graham Tuckwell has been foundational in many ways. He's brought deal-making capacity along with financial capital, agility, acumen, insight, again, trust. And so these are the building blocks of the turnaround and the building blocks of a firm that I believe will take shape and ultimately achieve its strategic mission across Northern Australia and Timor-Leste. I want to highlight how we did this today, because there's some focus at the moment on capital raising and underwriting agreements and so on and so forth. The decision at the top that I took was not to write off existing shareholders, even though in some ways it would have made sense to do so, because the company that they owned was worth nothing. Instead, we put together a series of really small placements, largely funded offshore, practically zero discounts, and we earned our way out of the hole. We had to do a convert in early 2024 because we got caught up trying to pay down Speewah at the time when we were rotating from vanadium to fluorite. It was a very, very challenging time. Early 2024 was probably the most challenging time at Tivan, the closest we came to failure. We obviously got suspended. That was a decision that I took, to actually go into suspension. But earning our way out of that is it's a very, very challenging sort of period. Once we had Japan on board, which was about 3 months later, the tide turned. We were able to pay down the debts. We kept doing small incremental placements. The involvement of the federal government with the IPCM grant was a real game changer for us. And then we started to move into the big JV agreements. And I do want to highlight our strategy here. Like, the view that I have, perhaps being a former hedge fund manager, is that I hate dilution and I hate inflation. So whatever I can do to avoid those two things, I'm going to do it. And so the idea of joint ventures was to avoid at all reasonable grounds the dilution of the parent company. And so sell part of the projects that you've acquired, and having demonstrated those projects are much more valuable than what you've acquired them for, to avoid head company dilution. Structured deals sensibly that ensure that those parties coming into those deals have risk mitigation, have stage gates, and are protected themselves, build trust, and then rinse and repeat. And so once you get into 2025, you'll see the first of those agreements with the binding agreements with Sumitomo Corporation. That's a much larger number, obviously $60 million. That was matched by ETFS just before the AGM last year, and Graham explained his rationale at the AGM, another $60 million. And then just yesterday, we've announced another $50 million deal. These are big tickets. These are very hard numbers to raise. No one else is doing this in Australia. Certainly no one coming from scratch within 3 years. Meantime, we've been able to progress the projects such that we've earned into tranche ones and tranche twos. And then just most recently with the 30-cent options, which were issued to all shareholders 3 years ago as an act of trust and good faith. We entered into an underwriting agreement to ensure that we had at least $10 million coming our way at 30 cents. And again, ETFS provided some placement capital, meaning that we raised $15 million at 30 cents, just over the past month. I think that's a point of reflection. I hope it is for everyone. I know there's some, despondency with options that retail owned that went deep in the money that have come back and may now expire worthless. And that is the way it goes with options. I can say that because, in my heart of hearts, I'm a derivatives trader. That's what I did for a long part of my lifetime. And so managing option decay is an art. It's a science. It takes a lot of discipline. At Tivan, we also owned those options. The board did, I did, the team did, the earliest team. Unlike shareholders, we did not have an opportunity to manage those options for our own benefit because we've been locked away under the limits of having confidential information and trading blackouts. So right through the first half of this year, we're working on feasibility studies and scoping studies and joint venture agreements. At no time did anyone in the team or the board have the right, with the information that we held, to sell the options that we owned when they went deep in the money. And no one did anyway. But the point I want to actually make is that we've also felt that pain. And that's the nature of alignment. That's the nature of alignment. And so I understand that there's some frustration with that. But what I would say is that my focus is on the company and the funding pathway. That's where I owe my duties to act in the best interest of the company. And what I'm presenting here on this slide is the way that, I've led the turnaround, providing facilitation capital so the company could breathe and heal. And then the actual value creation engine, which is to have acquired assets which were fundamentally undervalued, demonstrate that value, and then sell part of those assets to incoming trusted partners, raising capital, large sums of capital, to avoid head company dilution and to rinse and repeat. This model, I don't believe anyone else has gone down this pathway in Australia, not from where we started, certainly. And I believe this model is replicable, including in Timor, by the way, and including on some other things that we're working with, because we have that trust. And I believe this is the best path to create durable enterprise value. And again, starting from where we did, it's a hell of a turnaround. And we've now demonstrated twice the capability to build these deals with some of the most sophisticated counterparties in the world. So that's the nature of the strategic journey so far, because there's more to come, and there'll be some things on this, if I do this slide again in a year's time, that will shock people. Okay, so Speewah, briefly, the most important achievement since I last held a call, which was, I think, early May, is the pilot plant. We've been working on this essentially the whole time. To build a new project in Australia is challenging, no doubt. To build a new project in a new critical mineral in the Kimberley next to a river is incredibly challenging in a non-determined native title area, to top it off. And so, we've focused very heavily with Sumitomo on the technical pathway the whole way through. I think for those that have been on the journey the whole time, you'll have heard me speak about Brendan Nicol and Alex Botterill, as well as some of the most gifted metallurgists in the country. And this has been their focus, for 2-3 years, integrated with our geology team and our engineering team to ensure that we can have the material that's required to build a pilot and to do it on schedule. And the reason this is so critical is that we need to prove that we can actually have a product And then we need to actually pump out some of that product to distribute it as samples to customers around the world so that we can close the offtake agreement in binding form. We have an offtake agreement with Sumitomo, but we need to shape it over the next couple of months in terms of pricing, quantity, schedule. And the way to achieve that is to have samples from a pilot. And now we do. And, we were thrilled and delighted. It's a major technical achievement. It's a great credit to the team, particularly to have come in so high above spec. I believe it will now lead to Speewah deriving a premium for what we're doing versus index. And I think the premium is justified. And I've made this case to Sumitomo, and I've made this case to several of their customers, which is the premium, reflects two things. One is that the underlying metallurgical content of Speewah is sensational, with the near zero arsenic and lack of impurities in terms of things like phosphorus and so on and so forth. And then, of course, we're in Australia, and Tivan also controls Sandover, and we have effectively a monopoly on high-grade, large-scale fluorite in this country. And that's important because the way the world is shaping is that security supply is everything. There was a push, over the past couple of years to have like a green premium, like nickel, for example. Customers should pay more for nickel if it's green. That was never going to fly. In contrast, if you say, okay, there's a premium for Australian fluorite because we offer security of supply, that is a very, very different value proposition, particularly in the context of China doing what they're doing. And we'll turn to that in Q&A. And so that argument, has been, or that narrative is something that I've, pushed for 1 to 2 years. It's landed. And I think the offtake agreement that we'll ultimately arrive at will be very, very favorable for the project and therefore for Tivan, noting as well that Sumitomo itself owns or will own 22.5% of the project. And so the partnership is functioning really well. It's, again, based on deep trust, deep respect. We also now have welcomed the involvement of Sumitomo's Mineral Resources Group. So, we started this journey with the Chemical Solutions Group because acid spar is considered a chemical when it's turned into hydrofluoric acid. But the project is now taking on such resonance in Tokyo that they've integrated some of their team from the Mineral Resources Group, which gives us access to the capabilities of Sumitomo Corporation's mining team, essentially. And so we're very pleased with the progress. And I know that when we announced the pilot plant results, the reaction was favorable. But I would nonetheless say that this is one of the most important achievements of Tivan since we started the company in our own form. Similarly, I think 2 weeks ago, Minister King came to Speewah. That was a great honour. I think those following me on Twitter will know that I don't agree with the changes that the federal government has proposed to make to capital gains tax, especially for companies. I fundamentally disagree with that. However, the federal government is extremely supportive of Tivan, extremely respectful of what we've achieved and how we've gone about our business. Minister King is one of our, I think, many supporters and advocates, and her presence at our site was very, very welcome. Minister King is also the key decision maker for various steps ahead. She's the Minister for Resources. She's the Minister for Northern Australia. That means that she'll be signing off on any loan, for example, from the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility, Export Finance Australia as well. Also a key decision maker to include fluorite, for example, in the Critical Minerals Production Tax Incentive Framework. Also potentially to include fluorite in the Critical Minerals Strategic Reserve in the future. And so Minister King is incredibly important to our project. She's been very, very supportive in the corridors of power in Tokyo, including with JOGMEC, Sumitomo, METI, and we welcome her to site. She's also a great person. Like, she's really cool. And, we were on a helicopter for about 3 hours. And so it was quite a fun morning. And I think you can see sort of the joy in her eyes with the fluorite orb, which we're told is now on her desk in Canberra. So I wanted to share these photos, and Minister King shared these photos on her socials, and so but it was a wonderful morning, and yeah, it was great for the team as well to understand, and I think as well for the traditional owners. I won't name names here because it's culturally inappropriate to do so, but we went through our protocols with the smoking ceremonies, and you could feel the warmth of the moment, and that's a great reflection on Minister King as a person. But I think as well the standing that we've built at Speewah over the past couple of years. Okay, so to Molyhil, yeah, great day yesterday in announcing this. I'd obviously telegraphed this announcement, but it's one thing to say you're going to do something and another to land it on time. And that owes to, again, the trust that we've built with Sumitomo, with ETFS, who play such an important role now in being able to choreograph deals and timing as well. And the reality is that Sumitomo trusts ETFS and vice versa. They know each other really, really well now. So this is, again, our engine room. It's almost impossible to conceive, like many of the comments I got yesterday from some of the biggest mining companies in the world, as well as like how is it possible you can acquire a resource 9 months ago and then ink key terms with Sumitomo Corporation? 9 months. And it's all down to trust. That's really the driver here. We have established foundations with all levels of management in Japan, and we're operating in a way that they understand, and that the signals that we're sending. And we've also pushed away so many other people that wanted to work with us, and they obviously respect that. And so we're able to be in a position where a project that we bought for $8.5 million, 9 months ago, and then we haven't even paid off, like we haven't. We've already been able to sell a small portion of it, 17.5%, and raise really, really significant capital. The effective markup here is 30 to 35 times within 9 months. So that's an extraordinary example of enterprise value creation. And the wonderful thing is that even at the entry levels that we agreed for Sumitomo Corporation and ETFS, the project's so valuable that they will be earning in excess of their target returns on equity. So this is a live example of how to make money. And again, and without being too coy about it, the federal government's making it quite difficult to do that in Australia at the moment. And so nonetheless, this is, a wonderful example of that. And it's a second example of the partnership model that we promote and that we believe in, which is to build in capabilities from different trusted partners to work quickly, to share risk and to share opportunity. Like, we want this deal to be, extremely profitable for Sumitomo and for ETFS, and we're providing them each with things that they want. In the case of Sumitomo, especially 100% of the offtake, which Japan needs, especially in tungsten. A second feature of the announcement was our collaboration agreement with Aboriginal Investment Northern Territory. Very proud moment for Tivan. It is a building block. We have rebuilt the company from scratch in Central Australia. Central Australia is incredibly important to me, incredibly important to Tivan. And we started the healing process with the Central Land Council. We then had to find opportunities that actually worked, and we did that with Sandover and then Molyhil. We are on a good pathway with the traditional owners at Molyhil. We had a very successful meeting at Bonya about 6 weeks ago, I think. And we have a site visit planned for Sumitomo Corporation next month. But we wanted to take it to the next level, which is this relationship that we've built with Aboriginal Investment NT. Over the past couple of years as well, these things do not happen quickly. You have to build trust, and you have to build standing, and you have to build opportunities and capabilities. Aboriginal Investment NT is led by Nigel Brown. Nigel used to run Larrakia Development Corporation, so it's a group we've worked with before. It's a very, very important group. Its mission, as stated, is to drive Aboriginal-led investment and economic participation in the NT. It's a formative objective, and the NT is lagging so far behind all national standards, whether it's health, whether it's crime, and so on and so forth. To have an opportunity to work with this organisation from the start in a constructive and respectful way is very important and extremely aligned to why we've built Tivan. It's a very challenging mission, but I was so pleased that we're able to close this collaboration agreement on time and on schedule on the same day as the JV key terms, and that Nigel provided that wonderful quote. There'll be some more media about this in the days ahead. And if I can say as well, I was gladdened with the reception that it got yesterday. Oftentimes when we've made announcements, and we have made many announcements with traditional owners, in the Kimberley and the NT, it's sort of been dismissed or worse, if I can say. This announcement yesterday, I think people understood it, the significance of it. And I'd say for people in the territory, like if you live in the territory, you know what this means. This is a major breakthrough, and it will lead to other important developments in the years ahead. And so a very important symbolic milestone. I believe only Tivan could achieve this because of the way that we've gone about our business, because of the language that we're using. And I believe that whilst practically every mining company in Australia views heritage issues and land access issues as a risk, Tivan can ultimately translate that into an opportunity and a point of differentiation. And the pathway that we're on, doing deals with the Central Land Council, doing deals repetitively with traditional owners, and now this statutory organisation. This is a major show of respect for the journey that we're on, and we seek to reciprocate, and we seek to build upon it around Molyhil and then to other projects in the Northern Territory. And yes, there are other projects that we're looking at, not quite yet, but this gives us facilitation, and it gives us the fast track that is actually required for Tungsten especially. So for Timor, briefly, we are on track. This is the blue sky for the company. We're incredibly excited about the progress that we've made. It is hard-earned. We are now seeing Timor being flooded by applications, for mineral concessions. We were about 18 months ahead of that rush. We believe that we have secured now all of the prime ground for copper and gold. Tivan's concessions represent around 4.5% of the landmass of Timor-Leste. I'd like to highlight again the involvement now of Major Mick Stone has been such a difference maker in these past couple of months. We are now working incredibly close collaboration with community veterans, the church, because Mick is personally respected. His language skills are just a different level. And obviously he's got incredibly strong relationships with the most senior leaders of the country politically. And so we are in a very good position here. And perhaps what I'd like to hint at or allude to is that, we're so excited by the possibilities in Timor-Leste that are not restrained to Ossu and Baucau and Turiscai, that we're going to be doing more. a lot more. And my presence in Timor will become even more significant. I will be spending a lot of time in Timor. It's very important that the leadership of the company is well represented there. We do not want to be in a position which so many companies are around the world in small countries where they discover something and they sort of try to backfill stakeholders and leadership and community and all the rest of it. We want to be there and we want to participate and we want to build trust and then we want to find something. So just flagging to shareholders tonight, don't be surprised if you hear more about me spending a lot more time in Timor-Leste in the period ahead. It's fundamentally important to Tivan's future that we retain our advantage and our head start up there, and that we continue to build trust up and down the spectrum. I do want to flag as well that we do believe we can drill this year, and so that's well ahead of schedule. We are with the benefit of the money that we're raising this month in a position, we believe, to do that. It won't be a massive program, and in some ways it's like a test. Like, do we actually have the supply chains and logistical capabilities? And again, we have to upgrade the license we're operating under to achieve this. But the aim would be sort of September, October, November. We know the targets, we do, and that's very exciting for us. But yeah, like 6 to 8 to 10 holes before the end of the year, and the team is animated, and it's great to have a central point of focus. Now, if we miss, we miss. This will not truncate the journey in Timor. Like, we're here for 3 to 5 years minimum. There's so much to do, and there's so many opportunities. And we're getting lots of questions, and it's great to see the shareholder engagement in Timor now as well. But yeah, we want to have an accelerated, expedited focus, and we think we can get there now by Q4. Okay, so corporate, a couple of things to emphasize here. The team continues to grow. It will continue to grow. Like, we need a much larger team. I have clocked some sort of question marks online in terms of how we're paying for this or why we're doing this, because others don't. It's the wrong question. Others don't because they know they're not going to build a project and they're just pretending. If you want to build a project, this is actually the journey. You have to sequence hiring. You have to inspire the best people to join. You have to provide effective comp to incentivize that. You have to promote a culture and a mission. And we are on track. We have some of the best and brightest and also youngest people in Australia are working with the company, and we're inundated with people wanting to join. And so we'll keep pushing this HR development plan out. It'll become even more significant the closer we get to FID at Speewah. It's financed not just by Tivan, it's financed by the joint ventures. Like, as I showed on the slides above, we're raising large sums of capital outside of Tivan in joint venture companies, and part of that capital raising is to build the growth of the capability that's required to join the team. Obviously, in Timor, we have a significant advantage in the sense that labour costs are extremely low, and so we're able to manage it that way. And even with the team in Australia, most people here, I think, are underpaid in raw comp. And it's something they asked me to do because I am underpaid massively in terms of raw comp as well versus peers. The trade-off is equity, and that's been the journey, and it's worked out, and that's the way to build a company. And there are other companies that are have successfully managed that delicate balance. Developed Global is a good example. And so the offer that we generally make to staff is, okay, we won't be able to match quite what you want or be thereabouts, but you'll have shares, and those shares will be worth something. What I wanted to flag tonight is that in the upcoming HR review, which is happening now, we've done annual reviews for the past 3 years. So, in July, we are going to move the performance rights system at Tivan. So for the first couple of years, we essentially had shareholder approval to award shares to the team based on tenure. If you hung around, then we had the ability to reward key members of the team, and in fact the whole team. As the company is now maturing, it's now appropriate to transform. It's no longer sufficient just to have tenure. Like, it needs to be a harder test. And so we'll introduce this probably in July, but we're going to move towards 3 very severe performance tests for the whole company. And if they're achieved, that's what will unlock a pool of shares for the whole team, and they'll be distributed based on contribution to those 3 performance objectives. The 3 should not surprise any shareholder that's following Tivan. If we achieve FID at Speewah, that would be a performance pool unlocked. Bearing in mind that FID at Speewah is a true FID. To get to FID at Speewah, that means Japan has signed off. This is not an arbitrary goal. It's not something it's easy to achieve, and it's something we've been working towards for 3 years now. So Speewah FID, Molyhil FID, and resource definition in Timor-Leste of a significant JORC-based number in terms of copper or gold equivalent. Any of those performance goals and all get achieved, pool of shares get unlocked, and that's the way that we'll be participating in equity going forward. And so that is a recognition for shareholders that, again, there's that alignment. And we had to go with tenure-based awards at the start because the company was so broken, and it has worked. It's prevailed. Look at the team that we've built, this brilliant team. Look at what we've delivered. But going forward, we'll be essentially operating predominantly based on performance pools with very, very hard to achieve objectives and thresholds. And if those thresholds are achieved, it will unlock a pool. And we'll bring all of this to the AGM later this year, and obviously seek shareholder approval. And I'm very confident that that will be granted. So yeah, just wanted to flag that tonight. So the journey ahead with HR, I would say, is a material change to the way that equity is earned, to ensure that it's fundamentally aligned going forward. A very ambitious growth plan. This org chart could double quickly, and that is the plan. And there'll be an enhancement to the leadership team, I believe. There are many people at Tivan that are now have contributed so much and have won so much trust from the board. The leadership team can be expanded. There may be an executive team within that, so I can delegate authority. And I think you can expect to hear about me spending a lot more time in Timor in the time ahead. And that's to ensure that the frontier of the company continues to push forward, and frankly, to actually create more proximity for me with our major project, which is Speewah. And so a journey ahead in the next couple of months, lots to look forward to, lots of momentum, and lots of positivity internally. Okay, so with that, in the interest of time, I will turn to AMA. As always, we get lots of questions. I'll try to pull through these in the 20 minutes available to keep this call inside the hour. I do want to flag here that, we really appreciate the engagement and the AMA. Like, we think it's fundamentally important. It's an important part of these calls to open ourselves to scrutiny. These questions are not edited. They include everything. And so thanks for those that put the questions in, and encourage you to do so in future sessions as well. All right, quick drink of water, and then I'll pull through this within 20 minutes, I promise. So in terms of the practical implications, Paul, of being included in 2 major announcements with the Japan-US government for Speewah, and then the Japan-Australian government, it partly is symbolic, like to be put on those very privileged lists doesn't happen by accident. It shows the conviction and the criticality of the projects involved. In our case, I would say there will be another a practical implication in my view, which is that I think you will see much more significant government support for Speewah than we currently are able to discuss. And I think that support could run the gamut from the Western Australian government to the federal government, and including the Japanese government. So wait and see, but those practical implications will be delivered in time. In terms of heritage and DFS and all the rest of it, hope. I mean, listen, we've been very clear. I'm not sure why clear is in inverted commas. Like, we've provided dot plots. You can review all of this. That's as clear as it gets. We're incredibly transparent. We are on track to deliver FID this year at Speewah. That would be a monumental achievement to wrap up ILUA, environmental approvals, offtake, all of the financing, to deliver an FID within 3 years of announcing a project in a new critical mineral. It's impossible in Australia, and yet it may be possible here. Okay, so that's our base case. We're doing our best. There's no need to be sort of sarcastic about it. We have been abundantly clear, and we are working faster than anyone else in the country. And so that's the answer to that one. In terms of Molyhil Phase 2 approvals, yeah, I think that there are two components to that. One is the non-territory government, and the other is the traditional owner approvals. You'll see, if you look on the NT government's website, that our application is now in the public domain, so you can read through all of that. We expect that to be granted in the next couple of weeks, and no material issues there. We hope and expect, in terms of the traditional owner aspects, that they'll be resolved in the next week or so. Like, we've already done the clearances, we've met with the TOs, and that will put us in a position not just to recommence drilling, because we have now culminated Phase 1, but to commence Phase 2 in July. The sequence, to give you a read, will be the diamond drilling within the Molyhil pit. Like, that's the first priority for the critical path of Molyhil. And then we're going to head to Walshy's Wall. Like, that's the second thing. And that's sort of my choice. Like, I want to see what's there. So we hope to be drilling Walshy's Wall in July, early August, I'd say. We don't yet have the assays, surprisingly, from the tungsten drilling we did and the fluorite drilling that we've just completed. ALS is, we're told, like, completely overrun at the moment. Like, it's high season and they're taking much longer than normal. And so, we don't know. If we did, we'd announce it. And so sort of wait and see in terms of Phase 1. In terms of pros questions about tungsten hexafluoride, yeah, like, I flagged this on Twitter. It's a great example of why we're doing what we're doing. Tungsten hexafluoride is absolutely vital for semis, absolutely vital for AI. AI has gone, obviously, through the roof, and yet those valuations can't be justified unless someone outside of China can produce tungsten hexafluoride, and it is WF6, and so Tivan's on both sides of the ledger. So now are Sumitomo. And I think, why does this deal happen so quickly? Yeah, that's the answer. Central Glass is mentioned in a lot of the press releases. I think if you look at our website and some of the Twitter, you'll see Tivan and Central Glass together. So we're right at the pointy end of all of this, and it's incredibly important to Japan. It highlights the criticality and the choices that Tivan's made with our project selection, and we will do our best in terms of the economics involved. But you're already seeing this again for Sumitomo Corporation to ink a joint venture on a new project within 9 months. Key terms. It's completely unprecedented. So in some ways, that's the answer, Pro. Yeah, AI chip producers, we've had a lot of interest even in the past 24 hours from companies that we didn't expect. One of the largest companies in the world, they're not that welcome here. And I will tell them that if you're watching, you'll get that phone call from me soon. But the Koreans, yeah, and China and India. And so, yeah, I think there's growing recognition. And part of this is actually still Speewah just becoming more well known. So I think I mentioned on the last call that like vanadium we're starting to get, and we have received even further reverse inquiry on Speewah vanadium. And so we're not pushing that ourselves, but yeah, it's the nature of a company maturing and a project maturing that you get more and more, I guess, reverse inquiry. And so, Pulsar, I think I've answered that question, in the above. So on the next page for Timor, mineral tender process. Yeah, listen, we expect Paul to find out in the next month or so. The extra concession that we sought was around Turiscai, just to extend contiguous blocks. We're very bullish on, two parts of Turiscai, and yeah, it makes sense for us to be there. We think that'll be well received and respected. We're also looking to do some other things in Timor that I can't discuss today, but yeah, 1 to 2 months, and we're not that concerned or sort of anxious about the process. It is true, David, that there was very, very strong demand in that second minerals tender. It just goes to show, I guess, the value of our early moves. Price. Well, I think in some ways, this is David. It's like the distinction. Like, people know the price of everything. They know the value of nothing. Like we saw Timor from the start as incredibly valuable, and we had to devote some reputational capital to especially to have the tender, not go out and to have a direct award. But we did that, and we're here now. And I still can't quite tell the tale of how we managed to get our hands on Baucau and Ossu from Beacon. But I think that transaction, which was a first in Timor's history, an assignment, it shows the level of credibility and perhaps leverage that we have. And so there'll be more ahead. And there are other opportunities in Timor that, yeah, it's not appropriate to discuss now, but, we're incredibly excited about what's happening up there. While she doesn't have a best estimate on the porphyry, we don't know if it's a porphyry. We have found pathfinder chemicals and elements at Turiscai, but it will take quite a long time to settle down, and let alone to contemplate size. We hope it's a porphyry, could be volcanogenic, massive sulfides. Like we're not sure, but I'd say that Ossu is the most advanced. We've also received a lot of geophysical data in the past month or so from the Timorese government that we're working through with independent consultants. Some of it's sort of staggering. And so we think the right place to start is Ossu. And I'd love to give Tivan's shareholders a big Christmas present. And so we're pushing as hard as we can, but let's not become speculative in terms of porphyries and so on and so forth. Obviously, it's a journey. In terms of sequencing, Michael, I mean, I've sort of just touched on that. You're right. On the south side of Turiscai, where Turiscai is, it changes dramatically. The topography, the infrastructure, the rainfall, the hazards. We've had to manage serious safety risks already for the team. We don't want to put them in harm's way. And so, Turiscai is by far the most challenging area we're operating in. Ossu and Baucau being on the north side, the rainfall's less, the topography is less challenging. We can put in tracks and pads relatively easily. And so, that's another reason to start there. But the prize could be any and all of these places. And so we're basically working on, a sequence. We're building the team and the capabilities up. The team in Timor's, I think, 15 or so now, but that could be 50 next year. easily. Yeah, we really are going to be, I want to be very, very clear with shareholders tonight. We are going to be extremely assertive in pushing forward in Timor-Leste. It is in some ways the most important opportunity that we have in the company. From my perspective, personally, I've worked incredibly hard to build the pathway at Speewah with the TOs and with the financing and so on and so forth. I've just delivered that again at Molyhil. In the world that I work in, the most important deliverables, financing and traditional owners, and these are some of the hardest things to deliver for a project. I want to now go to Timor and build those foundational blocks and stay ahead of it. I want to be at the frontier of the company because I really believe that the pathway for Tivan to become a 5 or 10 or whatever billion-dollar company we will become, I think it's through Timor. I really do, and I want to be there for that. And so it's a really good question, Michael. Obviously we're working on this every day, but most of it is about local presence and having forward operating capabilities in different parts of the country. Baucau will be a big part of what we're doing. That'll be a big staging ground for us. And do not underestimate the commitment we have. It's really, really serious, and you'll see more in the next 3 months. And David, you're right. We're working not just with Timor's government on conceptual plans for Tasmania and what that might look like on the South Coast, but with the Australian government as well. And so, without getting ahead of ourselves, we're not doing this in isolation. Timor is incredibly important to the Australian government. And who? Minister King, Luke Gosling, the Prime Minister. So we are in a really, really unique position. We've put ourselves there deliberately, and let's see. I hope I've demonstrated to everyone over the past couple of years that I'm very good at doing deals, and we'll be doing deals in Timor in the years ahead for sure. Infrastructure, Peter, you're right. Infrastructure, the biggest limitation is actually power. Timor's run off to diesel-generated power plants, which is far from optimal. One's on the south coast, one's near Dili. And so, if we find something, it's not just ports. Ports will be one of the easier aspects, I would suggest. It's energy. But then they're sitting on one of the world's greatest untapped gas resources in Sunrise. And so there is a solution. It requires a lot of focus, coordination. You have to be at the top table. Tivan is at the top table, 100% in Timor. 100%. So if you take one thing away from this call, like our long-standing shareholders, I'm signaling tonight that our commitment to Tivan, to Timor-Leste is going to significantly grow in the next 6 months as well. And I believe that will include Japan. And so this is a very, very serious part of our company's enterprise value. Even if the market can't see it yet, it is coming your way. Options funds, we have some deep in the money options. They'll raise $30 million next year, I expect. The funds will get put to various purposes, and there's other incoming flows as well. And so Timor will be part of it, but it won't be like the sole use of funds. Okay, so to wrap up, good question on Sandover Fluorite. Assay results in July, we're not sure. ALS is well behind schedule. That's not a joke. We'll have to interpret that and then figure out where next to drill. It's clear that some of the veins are narrow and some of the veins are fatter. We think that we can already see that in the ground. And so we then need to prioritize future drilling. And if we want to move to a JORC, we'll be able to. We will. Is it a priority? Yeah, sort of. It's not a huge priority. It's definitely valuable and supportive, but obviously we've got many, many important things to achieve. And so we're definitely not moving to scoping study and development. Our focus is Molyhil. That was the decision that we conveyed at the start of the year. In terms of Sandover AI, again, we sort of parked it a little bit. We did do some soil samples around Norm's Pimple. They came up inconsequential. And so if you're watching, no, we're not going to be drilling there. It doesn't seem to be worth it. We are progressing some other sites with Earth AI, and at the appropriate time, we'll update those. Immutable time constraints. Immutable. So polysite, I mean, in reality, like the hardest things to achieve are ILUAs, environmental approvals, and finance. Like these are the things that no one can do. And so by using the word immutable, if that, I hope I've answered your question. And this applies at Molyhil as well. Environmental approvals are required by law. You can't just go and build something. And to achieve those approvals, you have to have done all sorts of baselines and environmental studies and so on and so forth. ILUAs are the most challenging thing in Northern or Central Australia by far. And then raising money is still no joke, And so those are the big, that's the trifecta that's ahead in the back end of the year. We are on track. I want to give everyone that reassurance tonight as Speewah. And hopefully the way that we've approached Speewah and the deals that we've just struck at Molyhil infuses that confidence that we can achieve this again at Molyhil, and that we can move fast, and particularly with the collaboration agreement with Aboriginal Investment NT and our work with the Central Land Council. These are foundational blocks. And in some ways, like Molyhil is a race, like it is. The tungsten price will ultimately, I think, correct based on incoming supply. Everyone's pretending they can build a tungsten project, but I think it's bullshit. I really do. I've looked at every single tungsten project in Australia and around the world, actually, and I think everyone's pretending. I think that we can do it. I really do. And we've devoted dedicated resources to it because it's a brownfield and because it's super high grade in those first 2 years. And Sumitomo believes as well. And so does Graham Tuckwell. And these are huge allies. So the validation that we've experienced in the past day is very significant. But in some ways, the most symbolic and the most important is the collaboration agreement with the Aboriginal Investment NT. If you come from the territory, yeah, you would know. And so, yeah. So listen, we've still got those huge building blocks ahead in the second half at Speewah, but everything is coalescing, and we are on track, polysite. So I hope I've answered that question adequately. In terms of escalating capital costs, yes and no. Hope to, we've trued up the capital costs of both projects, Speewah and then Molyhil, from the start. Both had capex at 60 or 70 million when we received these scoping studies or even DFSs. And again, we knew that was fanciful. And so the purpose of us doing our own scoping study was not to go back to square one. It was just to true up what we knew was incorrect, and then to provide a rapid pathway. At Molyhil, we're skipping. We're going from scoping study to PFS, and then we're going to go straight to DFS. And so, because of the underlying test work that's already been achieved, so we're not necessarily that concerned by the capital costs because the commodity prices, reflect that. It's more about having control and having our own work. We're never going to trust at Tivan someone else's work. That's impossible because most of it is designed for a different purpose. It's designed to raise a little bit more money to pay management, not to build a project. We're here to build a project. And again, all of this work gets vetted by JOGMEC, by Sumitomo. We are meticulous. So I hope that gives you some assurance in terms of, what we're trying to achieve and how we're doing it. In terms of venues for the AGM, just to round up, listen, we want to have a great AGM. We look forward to it. No, we haven't locked in. I mean, Melbourne is still a strong contender because there've been such vibrant events, and I guess we're so busy. It's like a path of least resistance, and we know that we'll have a couple hundred people show up. Sydney, Yeah, possible. It's probably still too early to have my dream AGM in Alice Springs, but it's coming. And you'll have to bear with me when it happens, because the heart of the company is still there. I won't drag an AGM to Dili yet or Baucau, but who knows in the future. It's a happy journey that we're on, and we'd love to have a happy AGM for sure. So it's definitely November. Once we make a decision, I'll blurt it out on Twitter. And on this final question, that was a fun question, so we left it down the bottom. I don't have much downtime, Tony. I try to stay fit and well. I read a lot, obviously family. In terms of the sandstone and the bird life at the Cape, we haven't got to the Cape yet. For those that don't know, that's probably, I don't know, like 50 kilometers west of Wyndham. But it's a spectacular part of the country. It's highly inaccessible. We are, I've told the guys that if they manage to get to FID this year, that we'll get them a boat. And we'll get them a boat out of Wyndham, and then maybe they can punt it around to Cape Demet, and with the fishing and the crabs and all the spectacular scenery. Not sure about a flight over the Bungles, but the boat is probably the priority. Just for an inside read, the name of the boat has already been decided. It's going to be called the Tivanic. And so it's an aspirational goal, and in a sense, part of the performance objectives of the company this year. So hopefully that gives you a sense of, we're just being in a happy place. The share price is not a reflection today of where the company's actually at, or the mood inside the company. We're working frenetically with, again, great respect and I think trust on country, whether that's Molyhil at Speewah, and especially if I can just highlight again the work we're doing in Timor-Leste, because I've used this phrase a few times about nation building and partaking in that, but it's shaping up. It's very, very serious now, and I'm extremely optimistic and want to make sure that the Tivan retains its leading position, and that we have the opportunities that in the years ahead that we believe are there, and that we take full toll, but that we do it in a very, very respectful way, a way that we can all be proud of. That is now very much central to the mission. So there'll be ongoing announcements. We've not, tried to, move things around to hold the share price together in any given month. This is business as usual for us, and we'll get into Q3, and you'll see the same sort of frenetic energy and the same sort of what we've promised, high impact decisions and ongoing commitment to deliver for shareholders. So I'll leave it here for this afternoon. I'll head down to the river, reflect, and look forward to comments and feedbacks. But thanks again for ongoing support from shareholders as we achieve our mission at Tivan. Thank you.